Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of Everything Marvel Podcast. Today, I want to talk about Black Panther a little bit. I like the movie overall. It got great reviews. It had some great actors in the cast. Chadwick Boseman, who was T'Challa, one of the main character, Black Panther. You may recognize him from Jackie Robinson. He's been in some other good movies. Michael B. Jordan, the main villain, Killmonger. He was in Fantastic Four. We've kind of talked about that before. He's been in two Marvel movies. Fantastic Four, not quite so successful as this one, but he got his chance of redemption. I don't know if he'll be able to be in any more. They kind of killed him off. But anyway, Danai Gurira, I'm going to say some of these wrong. She was Okoye. You may recognize her. It took me probably half of the movie, and I think I ended up Googling it a little ways in. She's Michonne from Walking Dead. It was bugging me. It really bugs me when I see an actor and actress, and I'm like, man, I know them from somewhere. So I just Google them. But anyway, Forrest Whitaker was Zuri. He was in Rogue One most recently, I believe. And he's a great actor. Martin Freeman was Agent Ross. He's been in a couple of the other movies. And he looked very familiar to me because he's in The Hobbit. He's Bilbo. So that was cool. Andy Serkis was Claw. He was also in Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit. He was Gollum / Smeagol. So that was really cool. And if you think about it for a second, the scene where Ross is interviewing, they have him captured, and he's interviewing Claw. It's kind of reminiscent of the scene in The Hobbit where Bilbo is arguing with Gollum. I think they kind of threw that in there as an Easter egg, but we noticed, Marvel, we caught it. I think it gives really good backstory to the character of Black Panther. He's kind of thrown into Civil War as a pretty important piece, as his father, T'Chaka, is the one that dies and kind of spurs on the events of Civil War, because everybody thinks, well, Winter Soldier did it, Bucky did it, we're going to find him, when he didn't actually do it. In this movie, we see more of the father-son relationship between T'Chaka and T'Challa. Those are really hard to say. Forgive me if I say them wrong. And it does, seeing this movie kind of takes you back to Civil War and makes you understand, it makes you feel his death more in Civil War when he passes away. It kind of hits you harder because you see their true relationship. I mean, he's pretty much been with him, watching him become king, watching him do the things that kings do, and like a son would do, taking notes, watching every step that his father did. It also has great villain development. I think Killmonger is just phenomenal villain. He has a great story, as he has a good reason to be angry with Wakanda and its people, because they killed his dad. Nobody wanted to believe him, but the truth came out, and they did kill his dad. And he shares his father's vision to empower people to take back, control. But we'll get to that a little bit more. They had great supporting characters. Lupita Nyong'o, probably said that wrong, Nakia. That's T'Challa's love interest, which he's hilarious when he freezes around her. That's so funny. Daniel Kaluuya Wakabi, and that's Okoye's husband. There's also Letitia Wright, who is Shuri, is T'Challa's sister. She did a great job. Some people even say that, and this is debatable and not really confirmed, but they say she's smarter than Iron Man, than Tony Stark. That's crazy, but the stuff that she came up with, it's very plausible. It would be awesome if she kind of stepped into his shoes if and when he leaves the franchise. But another discussion for another time. They have a great storyline in this movie. In my mind, it's a strange collision, a strange meeting of old school traditions with new ideas and innovations. It's the old African culture with new technology. It's really cool merging. You have African tribal music playing, and then you have hip hop music on top of it. It's really cool. I love it. And we also get to see the ancestral planes, which I've been reading up, and they say that supposedly this is one of the many multiverse in Marvel's multiverses. If you think back to Doctor Strange and to also Ant-Man, when Doctor Strange gets sent into his it's not really a vision, but he gets sent by the Ancient One. He gets hit and he goes through all these dimensions. Supposedly this is one of those dimensions. And also when Ant-Man shrinks, he goes into one of the dimensions. So as good a movie as it was, there were a few criticisms from me and from some other people. All right. So in the beginning of the movie, we see that T'Challa is already Black Panther. He's got the suit, his first rendering of the suit. He's already got the strength of the heart-shaped herb. In Civil War, it seemed like he kind of immediately took over the mantle of Black Panther. the scene where he takes his father's ring, that's kind of when in our minds in Civil War we go, oh, now he's going to be Black Panther. But we didn't realize that there was the ceremony and he had to drink the heart-shaped herb, so it's, in theory, he would have had to go back home right then, and technically go through all the ceremony and come back with the power of the heart-shaped herb then. But then in the beginning of Black Panther, he goes through the real ceremony and the combat, where he can have challengers, but you can make it work. A lot of critics say that it's too controversial and there's too many, racial issues and stuff, but I feel like that's part of the core of the movie. That's what fuels the villain, is that he feels like the Africans need to rise back up and take over. So you kind of have to have a little bit of that to make him a compelling villain, to give him a reason. He sees the other side, not the royalty side that Wakanda sees. He sees the slums and the ghettos and his people oppressed. So that gives him his fuel to do what he does in the movie. T'Challa does understand that any one race ruling is bad. In one of the post-credit scenes, I like how he says, he has this huge speech, and part of it, he says that we're all one tribe. And I love that. That's a great showing that he's not of that same mindset, that he goes, no, we're one people. Humans would need to take care of each other. And it brought it back together, even though Killmonger was going the other direction with it. Some say it's too liberal and some say it's too conservative. Some people say, well, it clings to the ways of the old religion, because they pray to the ancestors, and that's just weird. Well, that's kind of part of their African/Wakandan culture, is that's their religion. That's their guiding force, so to speak. That's who they turn to and they pray to and they say their chants to. And some people say, they're too close-minded because they won't share their technological advancements with the world. And that's, again, part of the whole fueling for the villain and the whole turning point for T'Challa, when he realizes that the world is not his enemy and he should actually help them. I like the idea that T'Challa in the beginning, because in his mind, the world, the outsiders, killed his father, should shield everybody. He should keep everything in and protect and that's kind of what his father taught him. So that's really what he knew. But I like that he has a turning point and he does realize, he's like, wow, we have this great technology and we can help the world. And the movie also falls to Marvel's villain problem, as I like to call it, and a lot of online people call it. The villains in Marvel, I would say probably 75% of the time, are just a mirror image of the hero. Now, hear me out. It makes sense, but then again, it doesn't. It's confusing, because if you think about it, if you make the villain too powerful, he'll just destroy the good guy and there won't be a movie. If you make him too weak, the good guy will just immediately wipe him off, and there's really no good movie there either. So I see that side of it, that you have to have a villain who is similar in strength and power and abilities to the hero. But it just happens an awful lot. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, you have guys with suits fighting a guy with a suit. In Thor 3, you have a god of something fighting a god of something. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you have a Celestial fighting another Celestial. Ant-Man, you have someone who can shrink in a suit fighting someone who can shrink in a suit. Incredible Hulk, you have someone with super, who's been hit with gamma radiation and the super soldier serum fighting the same guy, just a little bit different looking. Doctor Strange, you have a sorcerer fighting, guess what? A sorcerer. And now Black Panther has fallen into that. You have someone who has taken the heart-shaped herb and has this really cool suit, and someone who works his way in, takes the heart-shaped herb and gets a suit, basically the same suit. So there are a few that are exceptions. There's the original Thor. He's not really fighting another god. There's the first Guardians. He's not fighting another Celestial, so to speak. He's fighting Ronan. It's different. So there are exceptions, but it's just more often than not that it's the same idea as the hero. Anyway, and the economics behind the movie, behind the culture of Wakanda, that a country can close its doors for its entirety since it's been made, and just kind of work with itself and trade with itself and get everything it needs. That is so hard to believe, because I don't think anywhere in the history of the world has there been a country, that compact. We're going to say it's compact. We don't truly know the size. Trade with itself, work with itself, and become that wealthy, that powerful. I mean, you can make arguments like Rome or, in Italy, or you could England and stuff like that. But in general, I mean, technological advancements there can't just come from the fact that they have vibranium. And I think that's the way out that they use. Well, it's the vibranium, that's the secret ingredient. We can do everything, we can do anything with vibranium, but can you grow corn faster? Can you grow cattle faster? Like, there's certain limits you have to put on it. And I think that's what makes, in certain scenes where it's panned out, it looks like this big, huge economic city. And then in the streets, it looks different. It looks very, not third world country, but they're trading, they're bartering in the streets. It's not actual stores and businesses, so that, I think, again, strange merging of old and new. And the deleted scenes, I wish some of those deleted scenes would have made it into the movie. You should definitely get the DVD/Blu-ray/4K copy and watch the deleted scenes, because there's some really good stuff. I'm going to tell you a few of them. So if you want to just be surprised, stop right here, catch back up with us later. But there's a few of them that I'm like, really, this would have helped the movie and helped the plot further. There's a scene where Okoye and W'Kabi clash over Killmonger's takeover. They put one in the movie, but it's with Okoye and the other girl, not her love interest. So it's more love based and not friendship based, and it's more intense. We see their conflict because she doesn't agree with him. He sees Killmonger's ways, while she is very, very loyal to T'Challa. So I thought that would have been great to keep in there. There was another scene where we see more of the father-son relationship between the two. T'Chaka had just come home in this scene after he had to kill Killmonger's dad, Njobu. And he was very bothered in this scene. You could tell that it was hard for him. If you don't see this scene, you think, oh, he just killed this guy, went on about his business. But no, this was his brother. He was close, and this really hurt him. This was hard for him. This scene comes, if it would have been in the movie, it would have come right after he comes out of the dirt and he has been to the ancestral plains, and he's talking. He actually talks to the elder Zuri, and you see how bent he is against the outside world, how scarred and jaded he is because the outside world killed his father. And so this helps cement in my mind, when I watched it, how much of a 180 his character made to go from being that bent against helping the world to, we should help everybody. So there was also another scene that was an extended version of the post-credit scene where he gives his speech at the summit type thing. And before he gives his speech, Agent Ross comes up to him and stops him, and he tries to stop him from, he's going to basically go public, come out to the public and say, we have all this technology, and let everyone in on their secrets. And he tries to stop him. He says, this is going to scare people. It's going to change everything. And T'Challa just, he disagrees. He says, no, I won't rule like that. I won't rule in, I think he says, I won't rule in fear. So this also, in my mind, helps further the fact that T'Challa really does care. He's a merciful king. He wants to help people and share, not just be hoarders like the old kings have been in the past. And at the very end of that scene, it's really funny. Ross tries speaking Wakandan to them, and he butchers it terribly. And and they think it's great. They don't get mad at him. They, nowadays people say, "Oh, you're culturally appropriating him or something," and then they get offended. But no, it's funny, and he corrects him, and they just going about their business. And it shows a cool bridge of the culture and how friendly they can be. How friendly people can be. And hopes for a sequel, in my mind, they would be dumb not to make a sequel, because this movie did so good at the box office. Man, it just blew up records. It was like, if they don't make a sequel to this movie, it would be the equivalent of writing a $700 million check and just burning it, just throwing it away. Say, we don't want that. So, kind of a spoiler for Infinity War. Stop right here. Again, if you haven't seen Infinity War, stop right here. Black Panther was one of the ones to disappear after the snap. So, if they were to make a sequel, they have to get tricky. They're either gonna bring him back, or they're gonna make it in the past, which they can't really, because it's like I was talking about in the beginning, it's such a condensed timeline, so to speak, between Civil War and this. And then Infinity War is almost immediately after this. So where are they going to be able to fit that in if they want to go that route? But I'm not fooled. I don't think that everyone's dead. I think people are coming back. So I think they're going to figure out a way to bring Black Panther back. So, and the directors right now are they're trying to convince everybody, that all of the fans, that everybody is actually dead and we just need to move on and mourn and move on. But I don't buy it one bit. There's too many ways out. It's the Marvel universe. We've seen the pictures from the set. We've read the theories. We still have 2 movies before it. I am not convinced that everyone is dead. So you can't convince me that they are. So I'm 100% that they're going to bring everybody back, and they'll make a Black Panther sequel, because it's just great. He's an awesome character. I mean, his suit absorbs energy. There's so many cool scenes and funny scenes. It's a good balance. The movie is a good balance of comedy and seriousness, and Marvel has struggled with that lately, I think, in Thor Ragnarok especially, but we'll talk about that when I do a review of it. It's coming probably next. They did a good job in this one of humor and seriousness, and one of the scenes talking about his suit is when his sister gives him his new suit, and she says, well, kick it, and he kicks it across the room, and she's like, well, not that hard, and it just goes flying. But the suit absorbs. His suit is so cool. It's almost cooler than Iron Man's technology. It absorbs kinetic energy. If you're a science nerd, it absorbs the force of the impact, and it saves it until he can like push it back out or punch the ground, and it just explodes out, and it's freaking awesome. And I've not seen any other suits that cool, so I'm a huge fan of the character. Some of my buddies tell me that it's different in the comics. I've not really read Black Panther comics. They say Killmonger's bigger and Black Panther this, that, and the other, but I'm just talking about the movie review right now. We're reviewing the movie, and I really enjoyed it. I think he was a really cool character. I really liked him in Civil War. The whole fight scene with when Winter Soldier was breaking out, I loved it. It was awesome, man. His technique is just ninja. He's cool, man. He's a really cool character. Where I was going, the same thing goes for Spider-Man 2. They have to bring back Spider-Man, because this was just another great hit for Marvel after the I won't say the failed Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. They weren't great, but some would say they're better than the original Tobey Maguire trilogy. But again, different podcast for a different day. They would be crazy to not make another Spider-Man Homecoming. There's so much potential there. So Spider-Man will have to come back too. They're going to undo the stuff from the snap somehow, almost 100%. So I'm calling it now. They're going to bring everybody back. So if you haven't seen Black Panther, definitely check it out. I pretty much gave it all away for you here, but it's still a good movie. I picked it up on DVD and Blu-ray, so you should check it out. Check the extended scenes out. Gag Reel's pretty funny, and there's also a good preview for Ant-Man and Wasp on there, which is coming out very soon, the 6th of July. So that is going to be podcast topics coming up soon. So any thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, please shoot me an email. We'll try and get your ideas on here. So like and subscribe. The podcast is live on iTunes, so check us out there. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.